The Galactic Empire's colossal military was essential in subjugating much of the galaxy. However, its strong anti-alien agenda meant that aliens within their ranks were incredibly rare and greatly persecuted. But what would have happened if the Empire did recruit aliens into its ranks? So the first thing that we do need to understand for this rethink is that this empire would not be the same as the one we know in our timeline. The changes of allowing aliens into the military would be very, very big. As we've discussed previously, the entire strong anti-alien agenda which supported the idea of human superiority. This was done because it kept the galaxy divided, creating a great amount of tension between aliens and humans, ensuring they kept attention away from the terrible things that Sidious and the rest of the Empire was doing. Essentially, it was the motto of, it's easier to rule the people when they're divided, as opposed to letting them be unified and rise up against you. But we're going to say that Sidious decides he doesn't want a fractured galaxy, and decides that he wants to mend relationships between humans and aliens that were created largely in the Clone Wars, and to do this, he's going to try to bring aliens into the military and navy. Now, on the previous video, we discussed issues with this, for example, language and cultural barriers. However, we'll say Sidious invests a lot of credit into ensuring that there's more variation in his armed forces. So what's going to happen? Well, this isn't going to fix the anti-alien agenda overnight. As we learn from Thrawn's rise through the ranks, he was faced with resentment from humans his entire career, so there's definitely going to be some backlash from doing this. Military commanders would discourage aliens from joining the services, likely stonewalling their careers, meaning that they'd never be promoted. Not only this, but there'd likely be segregation between alien and non-alien units. It's also likely human commanders who saw alien integration as a bad thing would send legions with heavy alien presence to die on far-off worlds where fighting was particularly brutal. Now, Sidious would have to counteract this by ensuring aliens were equally represented in different units, and those who would show to be actively in support of the anti-alien agenda were prosecuted. Now, assuming the Empire finds a way to successfully integrate different species into the military, it would actually be incredibly successful. Some ideas on how to do this would be to maybe create a new language for all military units to speak, so not basic, and ensure that all new recruits were loyal to the Empire above all else. However, as soon as integration's relatively stable, they can begin reaping in some pretty big benefits. Firstly, having all these different species is going to make Imperial soldiers and pilots far more effective. Different species have different skills and natural biological advantages. For example, if you're in an ambush by rebels, would you rather have a group of human stormtroopers or a mixed group? Maybe featuring a Trandoshan or even a Lasat. Essentially, variation plays to their advantage. Also, in terms of public image, this is brilliant. Without the anti-alien agenda that the Imperials were pushing, communities under Imperial rule that were largely made up of aliens will be far more open, as the Empire itself will appear to be far more inclusive. This means that rebellions are going to be far less effective and likely, because the people of the Empire will feel like they're actually part of the Empire and not just living under an oppressive regime. At the end of the day, if people can see their own species fighting in the Empire, it's a good image. So rebellions are going to struggle to get recruits. However, this isn't all good for the Empire. If it's unified, it does present a problem. There is no longer a human-alien divide. Aliens are now going to be in positions of power, and although this will help in many ways, Sidious is going to have to start to appease them to avoid coups from forming around him. He can no longer reap the benefits of persecuting aliens. For this reason, high taxation of alien worlds and mistreatment of certain species will be forced to stop, and Sidious's ability to rule without check will also be made far harder. He will likely have to be far more considerate of the Senate, which is a far greater thing for the galaxy, but for Sidious himself, this isn't going to be good and he's not going to like it. But realistically, the Empire would probably last far longer, because it would actually be a galactic empire made up of all the different species being equally represented in the military, which of course is the driving force in an autocracy. Unlike how it was in our timeline, where it was just a huge group of primarily humans enforcing their will on the entirety of the galaxy. Unfortunately, as we know, Sidious had little interest in hearing the wishes of his people. And this is probably a very, very big thing to consider when we ask, why did the Empire actually fall? It didn't work with its people, it didn't include the countless amounts of alien species. It was, as a whole, very short-sighted. But what do you think would happen if aliens were allowed in the Imperial Armed Forces? And what would the effects be on the Empire and the galaxy as a whole? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, please remember to like, share and sub if you did enjoy, as it's really appreciated and it helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter @TheLoreGuy and tick the bell for regular updates. Thanks again for watching, I do hope that you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.